Yeah, do you think?
I should have polished it, maybe. Wouldn't see your head then.
Yeah. Okay, councillors, we'll get back underway. Would someone like to move to resume standing orders? Moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Law. All in favour? Against carried. We'll continue on 8.4. Mulwala Business Park site.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report relates to the Mulwala Business Park and the sale of proposed lots. There's three elements to it. The first is about classifying the land as operational land per the Local Government Act. The second part is authorising the fixing of the common seal of council to the 4 lots that we have purchasers ready to sign. And the third part is to authorise the fixing of the common seal to the lots that we don't yet have purchasers for, but so that when we are able to identify purchasers, that we're able to actually move quickly on the transaction. So that's the recommendation before you this morning.
Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments? Councillor Kennedy?
Yeah, it's actually looks great driving in that subdivision now. They've done a good job. The Shires and the contractors done a great job. There's it's great to see the sales of what all the interest saying, and I dare say there's a bit more interest happening in there as well. We hummed and hawed about doing it. We had the money. We had to jump on it. We've borrowed a lot of money in the Shire. And it's great to see that the investment's going to pay off, hopefully, with more sales down the track.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Any further? Councillor Longmire?
Can I also reiterate the fact that we stuck to our guns in cost recovery and what it cost us? Remember, we had the debate and it was forecast that we won't sell them because the price was too high. We'll have a look.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Longmire. If there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour? Aye. Against carried.
Agenda item 8.5 is an update on the Mighty City Cultural Exchange. So this program is in its 22nd year, and the visit for 2019 is planned from the 29th of September to the 8th of October. We have already called for expressions of interest from students to attend the exchange. Most relevant for you today is that the Mayor of Federation Council has been invited by Mighty City to be part of a formal signing celebration of the next agreement. Okay. So the recommendation before you is that the Mayor and General Manager of Federation Council accompany the delegation to Mighty City in September to participate in the formal signing ceremony, and that Council agreed to cover the costs of the Mayor and General Manager's airfares and gifts for Mighty City as hosts of the exchange.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Law, seeing we've got a new Director of Finance that's been fairly on the ball with the money and fairly tight, will that cover, do you think, our needs?
It should do.
Should do.
It should do. It's very important, I think, that the Mayor and the General Manager go, because they consider it very prestigious for the Mayor and the General Manager to be there. They sent their Mayor and General Manager here last year, and some gifts, and I can recommend the trip to anybody who wants to go. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Councillor Law. If there's nothing further, I'll put it all on. Councillor Longley.
I'm wondering why we have this program in place. I don't know that I can't justify $5 grand for somebody for us to go to Japan. What benefit do the ratepayers get out of this visit? We've already a tight budget. Surely we can spend that $5 grand better somewhere else.
I think I'll try and answer that one. I think it's many councils all over Australia have sister city arrangements, whether they be with a foreign company or in Australia, and they are forming relationships with other councils. It's part of ours and their cultural experience to give young children within our shire the opportunity to go and visit another country. And of course that helps with the growth of our younger children to bond relationships for the future. They can lead to business partnerships because whether it be foreign investment, trade, etc. It's just a good experience, I feel, for councils on a united front, not just Federation councils all over Australia, to have these partnerships with other countries, because we all live in the same world, and I believe that that's why Federation's adopted this. I note in the business paper that there's also looking for an opportunity at a more local level, being Melbourne City, which still hopefully will bring on different advantages within our own country and close to our own region. So I think it's an important thing. Yes, it costs money, but I mean, there's nothing you have to put in to be able to get back out. And I think, I personally haven't been before, but I've heard a lot of good things about the previous trips, and I've had a lot of good. I've built some relations with Mickey City coming here last time, spent a fair bit of time with them, and certainly I welcome that opportunity.
Question.
Councillor Longmire.
Yeah, it says in the financial implications that the students and chaperones will fund their own travel and insurance costs. So any children that do go, they'll have to find the money, or unless there's some sort of a scheme that gives them support, like a service club or whatever. So is it not, under that opportunity, not every parent is able to provide the funding for their children to go to Japan? So how does that work?
Councillor Long, I might pass that on to Councillor Law to give me.
The students pay their own airfare and their own travel insurance. They're accommodated over there in private homes. All the food is supplied for them. They virtually don't have to put their hands in their pockets. So it's a very easy and cheap way of students from our council to experience an overseas trip, overseas culture, and it helps to provide world peace, I believe. If every student was an exchange student, we wouldn't have any more world wars, I can assure you of that, because you learn to respect other people's cultures. You learn how to live in other people's homes. Some of these kids, there was a boy from Oakland went last year. It's all over the council. It's not Corowa-centric. And it's just a great chance for young students to look outside the world they live in. Last trip, some of the kids had never been on an aeroplane before, let alone go overseas. And it's a chance, if they want to get sponsorship from their local service clubs, they can apply for the sponsorship themselves. But it's a chance for them to go overseas and learn about the rest of the world in an economic manner.
Thank you, Councillor Law. And that was a good summary, but I think where Councillor Longmire was going, that kids or families that don't have the finances to bring that on, and it would be a great thing to give equal opportunity to some of the people that can't afford to. And is that being an aspect where you can get funding from service clubs, or
I think originally we did give $100 towards each student, but it's been going for 20 years. And now, I think with the cheaper airfares and things that are happening, they take the budget airfares over there, they're organised by the council. They take a group package, so that makes it cheaper. But I'm sure that they could write a submission to their local organisations or to council if they think that they require assistance to go.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longmire, did you want to comment on that any further?
I mean, it becomes a situation, as I mentioned in my question, in regard to people that can afford to be able to let their kids go. So the selection criteria, so we're talking an age group of, say, right across the whole school, or are we talking...
High school.
The high school, selectively every grade in the high school?
I think it goes from year 8 to year 11.
So the selection criteria is identified, as I'm reading it, which could be wrong, those that can afford it, or those in the next stage that have some assistance that comes from service clubs. But you'd be talking eligibility for how many children?
10.
Yeah, okay, but out of those 3 grades, how many kids would there be eligible in that year 11, 8, 9, 10, 11?
Well, there's about 50 in each class in Corowa, so that's 150. It's selected on they have to write an essay on why they want to go and how, and their interests, and they're selected that way. Last year, I think a couple of the girls were too young, but I'm not on the selection committee. it's just a case of they have to show their interest, and it's open to everybody to show their interest and seeing that.
So the school, the high school actually supported absolutely.
Yes?
Yeah, and the school council and the rest of it.
Yep.
During the school holidays.
Yeah.
Sorry?
During
Through
school
the school
holidays.
holidays,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
Just
I-
clarity.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and when those submissions do come back in, and if, you know, if there is a situation arises from that, I think we'll, you know, deal with that and try and help where we can. But, okay, so if there's nothing further, any further questions or comments, I'll put that one. All in favour? Against, carried.
Councillor Longley voted against. Did you want to record that?
No.
The next agenda item, 8.6, relates to Local Government Week 2019. So there's some competitions going on in our preschools and primary schools to celebrate Local Government Week. On Thursday the 8th of August, there will be a free barbecue hosted by Council at Victoria Park in Urana, and all the schools in Federation Council area will be invited to attend that. And the Mayor will also issue some certificates and awards for the winners of that competition. So the recommendation before you is that Council note the activities planned in support of Local Government Week 2019.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments, Councillor? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Agenda item 8.7 relates to the sale of some blocks of land that Council holds in Oakland. So we have held these properties in excess of 10 years and have now identified a purchase for those properties. The recommendation before you is to agree to the sale of those two properties in Oakland for the price of listed, and that each party be responsible for their own legal costs and authorise the common seal to be placed on those contract documents.
Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
My final report, 8.8, is the draft procurement policy. You may recall that Council considered a draft policy at the November 2018 Council meeting, with the intention that that would be released for public exhibition. There was a delay in that process as a result of two factors, one being the organisational restructure and the appointment of the new directors. The other was that there was an internal audit scheduled in relation to Council's procurement activities, and that the view was that it would be better to wait for the outcomes of that, incorporate those into a procurement policy, and then release for public exhibition. So what is before you is an updated procurement policy. It has been improved to accommodate the recommendations from the internal audit that was conducted. It is seeking to strike a balance between open and fair competition, value for money, regional sourcing, and environmental and social commitment within that policy. So the policy is recommended to you for adoption in principle so that it can be released for public exhibition.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Longley, seconded by Councillor Longley. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much, Dad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 9 for the Director of Development and Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
For councillors, item 9.1 is just the building statistics for June this year. Traditionally, June's either very busy or very quiet during the end of the financial year.
Recommendation there, councillors. Would someone like to move it? Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Longmore. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Item 9.2 is the development application approved under delegation.
Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Law. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Item 9.3 is regarding the Sloane froglet. As councillors should be aware, there is the species present in our council area in Corowa, and it's a core habitat for this particular species. They are looking at doing a program, and they're looking for a champion to help with community engagement in this particular project, and looking for volunteers for champion. You'll notice in the junior council meeting, there's 2 champions in the minutes for that. So I've spoken to Councillor Thomas, and she's quite keen to be the champion if anyone else is interested.
Excellent. Well, I'll get a moved by Councillor Kennedy and seconded by Councillor Wales. I'm sure someone will take that leap and join that with the
I would have
Robert.
preferred
Councillor Kennedy is keen. Thank you. Not Councillor, but Councillor Longmire, did you have a question?
Mr Mayor, do you want me to play the theme music or not?
Play the.
Theme music for the frog.
Is there theme music?
Remember I did it the other
He
day?
missed it. The mayor missed it.
He wasn't here.
Look at that. Is that a mover or something?
I'll find out.
Thank you,
So
Councillor
will we
Longmire.
like to put Councillor Thomas in the recommendation
Yes. So we recommend Councillor Thomas
and with that theme song?
with that theme song. And so, any further questions or comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Yeah.
Against, carried.
Item 9.4 is for a development application to vary development standards to allow a rural dwelling on a lot smaller than 250 hectares. Looking at the history of this particular block, there was a house there, but it burnt down quite some time ago, more than a year ago, which is the statutory period in which we can have a continuing use, hence the report before council.
Excellent. We've got a mover, Councillor Longmire, second Councillor Law. Any questions or comments? Councillor Longmire.
If I may, I think this is a real good step forward in regard to what our planning outlook is, and this, I absolutely endorse what we're doing. Once upon a time, the old catch cry was we're evolving, good farmland, we're doing this, we're doing that wrong. Well, the whole circle's turned now. For people to be out in the country areas, it's thinned out, and we've often talked about the building of big and larger properties, and so we've lost so many people in the community. This effectively, with merit-based opportunity, gives a chance for us to bring it back so people can build new houses out in the country, and all of a sudden we're starting to reinstate the population that can get on the fire truck and all the rest of it. I think it's the most invaluable thing I've seen since I've been on council to have this opportunity for an exemption. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire. Councillor Kennedy.
I'd like to back up Councillor Longmire's comments there. That I can't see why such big lots, you only have one house or whatever. Like, the more people that get invested out in the country, the better you can be. Like, as you said, like volunteers, especially fibre gate and all that, that's great effort. If we can enhance this, and like as it says there, the following council is only 100 hectares. Why are we 250 hectares? There's little farms there can be there, like they'd be growing grapes or something. It's a thing that needs to be enhanced in the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy.
I'd just like to comment on that too, because I've had a fair background up at Lachlan Shire. They didn't have a lot size at all for years, and they enjoyed that ability then to do that. And then the Department of Planning rammed it down in the new 2012 LEPs. They had to have this minimum lot size, and there was arguments about all sorts of what size, what makes sense. It was all comes back to what the 2 councils just said then. There's a lot more money and investment can be done off little farms than off bigger farms nowadays anyway, and you get people out there that can afford to get on 100 hectares and they can't afford 400 hectares. So if you're not born on the land and had a big opportunity, it doesn't give any hope for shearers or sons of truckies or anyone to try and get in. So I think coming up with our new LEP, that's why I mentioned it. The former Urena had 100 hectares, or has still. Cora's got 400 and I think 250 somewhere. I think we've got to be really on our game to fight the Department of Planning and whoever else, DPI, to argue for a sensible, we can get rubbish development down small acreage, but somewhere around the 100 or somewhere sensible where you can get in is critical to repopulating our farm areas. So.
Definitely, thank you. Well, if there's no further comments, I'll put that one. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Okay, thank you. Item 9.5 is the planning proposal number 12 to rezone land and remove the minimum lot size for subdivision of land at Howlong for the Howlong Industrial Area extension. This is just a formality to finalise the process. The next step is to go back to the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment to get the plan made.
So moved.
Moved by councillor Law, seconded by councillor Whitechurch. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Thank you. Item 9.6 is a draft developer contribution plan or levy plan. This was raised at the main meeting as a result of the budget discussion. This is what was an old Section 94A contribution plan. It's a percentage levy. It's based on 1% between 100,000 and 200,000 cost to the development, and 1.5% and then 1% for anything over 200,000. This will have exemptions in it for single dwellings and for certain subdivisions. So your mum and dad subdividers that are just doing infill development will have less, will not have usually incur a developer contribution. This will go out on exhibition and come back to council for comment. Question.
Thank you. Councillor, would you move the please, Councillor Long? And seconded Councillor Long, and I'll take the question, Councillor Long.
Director Appleyard, is this similar to the development service charge, or is this separate?
A developer service charge?
Yeah, well, one of the catch cries in the former budgets that we've had in the administration days,
Yep.
was the fact that there was a huge increase in the development, the head charges, in other words, on the development. Headworks. Development, is this it? Or?
No, this is not the headworks charge. You've got two lots of charges. You've got the Section 711 or 712, or developer contributions under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, and then you have what are called headworks charges under the Local Government Act and Water Management Act. That will be coming as part of the LEP process.
Okay.
This is a more straightforward type of developer contribution and can be, the main change for this council will be that you can levy it against roads and you can also levy it against your rural developers. So if we were to get, say, a big feedlot come in and we know that's going to have an impact on our road network, we can then levy a charge against that development, whereas before there had to be a nexus between the town and the development, whereas this means we can do it across the council
And
area.
does it also cover, say, the mining opportunity for sand and gravel and
Yes,
stuff like that?
all those sorts of things.
All
yes.
those sort of things,
Yeah,
okay.
the only ones that seem to have got an exemption from state level have been your passive type developments, which are your solar farms.
Okay, what about the forfeiture in regard to, say, minimum lot sizes or a smaller area, whereby there has to be, say, used to be 17% contribution towards public open space. Does that apply through this?
This is just a percentage, and yeah, if you have a look at the Schedule 1 in the document, it outlines what the money would go towards, and that has to come out of your long-term financial plan.
Okay, so you don't have to actually forfeit an area. This is another
Yeah.
way of doing it.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Well
this
done.
is a much easier way of doing it.
Yeah, a lot simpler. Well done.
Thank you. Any further comments, councillors? None, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
Good. I like that.
And that's me done.
Oh, okay, sorry, we've dealt with the ballpark. Thank you very much, Suzanne. Now move on to item number 10, Director of Engineering Services. Thanks, Steve.
Item number 10.1, Mr Mayor, is Subdivision Engineering Guidelines Manual. You might remember we put this to Council back at the February meeting, and unfortunately when it came off exhibition we didn't bring it back to get it adopted by Council, so that's what this particular report is about. During the exhibition period we didn't get any submissions, so the recommendation there is that Council adopt the Subdivision Engineering Manual, and that the Director be given the authority to make minor changes. If it's considered major changes, we'd then bring it back to Council for re-endorsement and re-exhibition if that was considered necessary.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Wales, seconded by Councillor Law. Councillor Law, did you have a question or a comment? No, if not. Any questions or comments, councillors? I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
Item 10.2 is the draft integrated water cycle management strategy report, or part thereof, which I did get Rochelle to circulate in the last day or so when we've got part of it. People probably haven't had time to read that as yet, or want to get rocked to bed by reading it, but The main intent of this is to, there's another meeting to be held sometime in August with a number of council representatives. We're on that particular committee. I know Councillor Meagher was on the original one was held. I'm not sure who else was on there.
I'm not sure, but we could read it.
Fred was on there as well. Councillor Longmire was on, so we just need a couple of reps. If council's happy that those same reps carry forward with the process. I think at this stage they're looking at maybe the 14th of August, I think is a date that's been tentatively set aside for a meeting. We need to get government departments there. The other thing you will find with this document, if when we get down the track in probably in the sooner than later, when we decide we're going to upgrade our sewage treatment works here or the water plant at Mulwala, if we haven't got this document in place, we won't be able to apply for funding. So it's a prerequisite for any funding arrangements with the state government that we have this document in place. And this council's probably eligible for somewhere between 60 and 70% grant funding for those upgrades. So when you start, I just had a very quick read of it this morning on some of it, and I think one of the projects was around the $19 million mark. So when we start talking those figures, if we can get 60 to 65% in grant funding, that's certainly worthwhile. So there is a recommendation there that the timeline be adopted and the council appoint representatives.
Okay, well, we've got a mover, Councillor Longley, and a seconder was Councillor Law. Councillor Longley.
Just a comment, is it possible that I might be added to that list of councillors on that committee? Thank you.
We can certainly do that.
Yeah, and we've made some alterations to movers. Are happy with them, or?
So we've got Councillor Burke, Longmire, Longley and Meagle as the reps.
Yep.
Any further questions? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried.
And 10.3 is consideration of report 10.3, which is a tender for Lonsdale Reserve Bay 13, and it is recommended there that we go into closed committee to consider that at the appropriate time.
Someone like to move that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Whitechurch.
Just noting that we did have in the original business paper a typo or a miscorrection there from the previous closed session at an earlier council meeting, so we've corrected that to be defer report 10.3 being 10 to 19/45 for the Lonsdale Recreation Reserve.
Okay, we've got a mover and seconder being Councillor Whitechurch and seconder Councillor Wales. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll put it all in favour. Against, carried.
So that is my...
Laura and Whitechurch we had.
Yes. No, Whitechurch and Wales. Was it? Yeah. So, thank you very much, Steve. We'll move on to item number 11. Notice of motion. I'm sorry, Councillor Wales.
I just think Mr. Carmichael for securing the ram at low sales, he won't fall off.
Very good.
Or knocked off by the villains. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wales. Okay, notice of motion. We've got a notice of motion here moved by Councillor Whitechurch. We're looking for a seconder, Councillor Longley. And the motion is that Council investigate the interest from Melbourne-based councils with a view of forming a sister city relationship, and a further report will be presented to Council on this. Background information to support the motion: the Federation Council area is considered to largely get the tourism, business, employment, development and other opportunities more often from Melbourne than Sydney, and could develop stronger relationships and links to government, councils and other programs if successful. Any questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Whitechurch.
Mr Mayor, the reason I guess for the motion was I thought that as a council we've come a fair way in the short time that we've been a merged council and we've had to make some hard decisions. The one thing that you continually get mentioned, and you see it quite often in the letters to the editor and in the pub talk and those sort of things, is what about tourism? You know, what are you doing to get business to come to the Shire? I looked in a bit, and the wording of sister city, I guess, puts in the mind of what we were talking about just recently with our Japan tour. The other terminology that this is used for is twinning, towns twin together, and that's been going on since just after the Second World War, where towns were forming relationships with each other for various reasons, larger in Europe and more so in Australia. But I believe that, and I say Melbourne because that's where most of our traffic comes from. I mean, it is northern to Sydney and whatever, and nationally, but Melbourne generic. I believe that if we can expose ourselves through an alliance with another shire in Melbourne, that they can see benefit in what we have up here in Corowa. There's large masses of land around the Corowa, Howland, Mulwala, but even further in our northern parts that are considerably cheaper to develop in. And they're not that far off the Newell Highway. They're not that far off the Hume Highway. In light of what's happening with our airport and the different things and our tourism, we tend to forget that the Murray River and Lake Mulwala are such big assets that I don't believe we expose well enough, largely due to the funds and the building to not do so. But even looking further to our heritage and our culture that are further afield in our northern areas, and if the Lake Urana project gets up, well, we can expose ourselves to these people in Melbourne, and there might be someone that wants to align themselves, and right down to kid level, where, you know, I think back at my school days of going to Canberra in primary school, and that week, and I still remember things very well about Parliament House, Telecom Tower, the museum, the Caribbean, and I haven't been back to any of them places. I think that there's children in the city that aren't seeing what's happening in the country. They hear about drought but don't know what it is. So apart from just the economic benefit of trying to align ourselves with one of these city councils, I think that there's also going to be tourism and the ability to draw people and expose our area, if there is interest from a city-based council, and it's open for discussion, and it might be something if we think it's worth looking at, that we do workshop and see whether there are any city-based councils, because the other thing that we have to impose on them is what are they going to get from us. So it's a two-way street, but I think it's something to move this thing forward. We've talked about Federation Council Longmire. Do we start small and incorporate that into it as well? I think there's a bit of an opportunity to do it somewhere, and that's the reason for the motion.
I think Councillor Whitechurch, it's an excellent idea. I'll just throw this one in as an extra. Excellent idea for tourism, etc. And I believe it'd be beneficial. It's about exposure, whether it be overseas or here. The other angle that we did once a number of years ago was actually had a New South Wales council, and that was a city-based one. The reason behind that was we were in the same state. It was trying to get an understanding between our city cousins and our rural councils within the state, because there were a lot of our challenges were we seemed to think at the time against us, getting money over the Blue Mountains, and them understanding what our needs and wants are, because we come together as one organisation. So whether that be one or two relationships, I don't know, but either, they're for both different reasons, I think that I'd be keen to push to see those sort of things happen, because it is relationships that grow businesses and areas, and we can't have enough of those sort of things, in my opinion. Councillor Longley.
I'd like to speak to that too. It's, I think you ought to be congratulated for your initiative on that, Councillor. I think it's the only way we can get out, if we get somebody even part-time or somebody to promote ourselves with some of these organisations as well. It can only help, it can't hurt, and we might pick up some new business, tourism might flourish. Great idea.
Any further comments, councillors? Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, I'd like to endorse that as well. Like that is a great idea. To encourage more people to come to the country, like, you know, instead of being, you know, sister city, might be sister councils. That's what it might be. Like council, like, could be even Melbourne Council. Like a lot of the kids from here wouldn't have gone down and probably stayed at a council in Melbourne or something like that. You know, it's a great effort, a great initiative to sort of bring that up and say, let's try and socialise, encourage people to come to our shire. Like, this is a beautiful part of the country, and it needs to be, like, obviously Mulwala gets, you know, tourism that's always there and everything, but there's a lot more parts of the Shire than actually just Mulwala, like out Urana and the lakes. People, you'd love to have a busload of kids come up from the city and take them out there and drop them in the middle of paddock and say, find your way home.
Councillor Wongmore.
Yeah, without wanting to be the devil's advocate in this situation, first of all, the idea is right from drawing people person from Melbourne, because Albury actually discounted and dropped the opportunity, I believe, where there were 7 major provincial cities in New South Wales had a scheme where they were to draw people out of Sydney. And I could not be right or wrong here, Mr General Manager, but I think Albury were involved in Evo Cities. Yeah. That's it. And so I believe they've discounted that because effectively it wasn't cost effective, nothing was going where they wanted it to go. So the idea is right, but in generalisation, saying a sister city, starting off with what the most... By the way, have we got a seconder to the motion? Yes, okay, thank you.
Yes.
And so in this situation, where do we prescribe to go, to which council? There was an opportunity for a federation thing that I counselled from, and I've got his card here. He's from Hume Council, Hume City Council. I'm not sure where that even is.
Sunbury and...
So his address is Broadmeadows. So, and there was the opportunity about that, all that steelwork and stuff. So there could be an opening if we were to contact. And let's find out from, say, that example, why did I meet him? He's had a son playing for Wangaratta Row, was here a couple of weeks ago, and he came up and approached me with the opportunity to do that relocation. So that could be a door opener if with the movers opportunity, if that was satisfactory, that you approach this council. I'm not sure, you might have another council that you can bring into position, Councillor Whitehead.
Yes, Mr Mayor, thanks Councillor Longmore, and thanks for the support on the motion. As I said, the sister city was just the terminology used, and twinning or a relationship, as Councillor Kennedy said, could be anything, be it a friendship relationship. But I certainly believe that, as Councillor Kennedy said, there's a lot of schools in any one shire council or any one council area in Melbourne that could bring a busload to this area and to a different area monthly. You could have 12 schools frequent this area. Now that exposes possibly 50 families that are going to send their kids, and them parents are going to talk amongst themselves. It's all about trying to get cheap exposure for something that we couldn't do through media or any other way. So the children part's great, but opening the door is the thing. At the moment, we've got no door openers. We're trying our hardest with a limited budget, and we've increased our tourism budget again this year through staff and additional funds, but we're not going to be able to get it out there to the amount of people that we could if we did get a relationship. Now, it's not necessarily to say if this doesn't work that we can't go to Ballarat and expose our kids to the gold area, and then children come to here. But the other second part of it is the economic part. I mean, we know from Councillor Kennedy's in the building game, we're in the engineering game, it is so much cheaper to do something up here than it is in Melbourne. Now, the people in Melbourne are saying, well, what's the point of us being in a relationship to Corowa? They're up there, what are they going to do? Businesses that want to expand from here down to there, that can do the primary production side of it here, and then just freight it into Melbourne, might be able to tap into a whole market down there. We very rarely lose a job in Melbourne that we quote for. We built the Caroline Springs Railway Station because it's so expensive to do stuff in Melbourne. People come out of Melbourne to get a job in Corowa and they want $50 an hour in their hand. Well, you don't come to Corowa to get that sort of money to do what you're going to do. I think workshopping it would probably be a good idea, Mr Mayor, or through the General Manager, and see if we can put a bit of brainstorming together and make something of it and contact the likes of this guy, and might be a bit of an opener.
And different scenario, but when we did it previously, in a previous life, it was about trying to get resources out of City Council as well. So if we, economic development or whatever resources that we didn't have the finances to have, they've taken resources from a City Council, come down for a week, worked in a council and gone back. So it was resource sharing too. So it leads to a lot of things. I think it's a great idea. So if there's no further conversation, I'll put that one. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Hume Shire was Hume Council mentioned, the town of Broadmeadows, and we know Eddie Maguire's from Broadmeadows, so you never want to come out of it.
Okay, I'll put it all in favour. Aye. Against carried.
Oh, sorry, aye.
so we're up to reports from committees. We've got a report from Federation Youth Council, the ordinary meeting, and a newly elected council. The recommendation that the minutes of Federation Youth Council ordinary meeting held on the 4th of July 2019 be noted. Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Kennedy.
Just wondering, Councillor Law.
I'd like to congratulate Amber Harvey on the excellent job that she's doing, helping these young people on the youth council. She guides them, she doesn't direct them, she guides them through the things, and all of their things are their ideas. I felt very privileged to witness their swearing of the oath, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I could just recommend that some of the other councillors go to these youth council meetings and see the enthusiasm that these young people have.
Yes, absolutely, and they have done an amazing job. What a lot of their things have done around their communities with their piano, and they're amazing, and things that no one would have thought of but a youth. So it's great. It was a shame that clashed with another meeting because it would have been fantastic. So if there's no further comments, did the General Manager want to make a comment on that? Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say if the councillors would agree that we endorse that, what Councillor Law said in our recommendation, that we put a vote of thanks to Amber Harvey, our Community Development Team Leader, and her work in the Youth Council, but also to issue a vote of congratulations to Dylan on being re-elected as our Youth Mayor, Dylan Forge, and to our new members, or to the overall new Youth Council, and to encourage councillors to attend, more regularly attend the Youth Council meetings. And I know Councillor Whitechurch talked about trying to get an interaction of those councils into our meetings, but it's probably a bit hard with school, but if it ever lined up with school holidays, it'd be a great chance if Dylan or others were available to attend one of our meetings and present on that.
And congratulate Olivia, who's now stepped down, obviously, from her position as Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so we've got that motion up there. Happy with that? If there's nothing further, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. 12.2, we've got Ageing Well Advisory Committee, and there is a recommendation there that the minutes of the Ageing Well Advisory Committee meeting held on the 4th of June 2019 be noted. Moved by Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Longmire. Any questions or comments?
Here I am, up again. I'm involved in this committee, but it's amazing the work that they're doing. The Ageing Well Committee are mostly more senior residents of the council, and they're doing a remarkable job. Just the defibrillator session they do alone is they're trying to locate all the defibrillators in the Shire, so as that you can plan where to have your heart attack, I guess. No. That if in times of need, that people will know where there are defibrillators. And even the ambulance people said, well, when you've done that, please give us a copy, because we'd like to know where they all are as well. It's an amazing group of people, men and women, who are so interested and so involved in what they're doing. It's remarkable.
Thank you, Councillor Law. And did you want to add on a vote of thanks, of appreciation to them as well?
If you'd like to, I'm sure that they know that they're well appreciated, but yes, if you'd like to do that, I'm sure they would appreciate it.
Michelle might word something up just to congratulate them.
Can I make a comment, Mr Mayor?
Yeah, of course, Councillor Longer.
I'm sorry. Endorse Councillor Law's comments. There is, I think, an overlap. I'm meant to be on a committee called the Access Committee, which I see some of the information has been told, like crossings and so forth are being mentioned and the PAM's mentioned in here, roads and so forth. I take note of the defibrillator, and there is one at the sports club grounds in Howlong, which I found the other day doesn't work because the battery's flat. I'm not sure who the responsibility is, and it was supplied by the Hume Shire in those days. So if we've got records of those, then somebody can test them and make sure that they are up and about.
Yeah, definitely. It's that's a pretty important issue. They're not much good if they're run on flat batteries. Is there one in this council building anywhere close to? Or, I guess, anyway, always handy to have them about. Councillor,
that's the story. When they go find them, they go to the clubs and say, is there a defibrillator here? Yes, I think there is. Where is it? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's trained to use it? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good work.
yeah,
I
that's
bought one
it.
for the main street of Mulwala, sits in the office.
And you don't have
Not
to be
one of the main streets,
qualified to use them either. You just know how to the
You
knowledge.
haven't got a hairy chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't come with a
Councillor Watchett.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I just note in there and acknowledge the defibrillator is obviously a big thing. Wasn't something I was going to mention, but you see in different places they have you ask a question. I mean, a little thing at all the clubs or whatever that has, have you asked where our defibrillator is? I mean, things like that, even at the footy clubs or little posters that you make people aware to ask a question or a little catchphrase might be a good thing, so that at least if someone's talking about it, you will know where it is within your venue. But the other thing I picked up, and we did talk about this just recently, I think Mr Carmichael had some information on it, but I remember going back quite a lot of years ago, the street numbers where they were painted onto the curb and gutters, and I appreciate some of our towns, including Cora and Southborough, haven't got curb and gutters, but it was done as a fundraiser, and I know here that the Lions Club and Mulwala and Rotary Club had organised a part of it, but I know in the past football clubs have done it. I think it's something that's very good, and there are some faded numbers. We could nearly have a gazetted day annually that you could segregate parts of the town and have each club put in that they're going to do it. So right, we're willing to send 4, 5, 6, 8 guys, and we'll do these to 20 streets. And Sunday of whatever month, every year they do it. And you'll find that it wouldn't take long before they're all done. And each sporting club or non-profit organisation would make a fair bit of money out of it. And it was only by advertising locally that happened. I think they went around the week before and put a flyer in the letterbox. And as I said, it was $10 for one side of your curb or $15 for both. And it worked really well. And Mr Carmel, you might be able, I think you did mention something about what happened as a...
Been done in a lot of towns I've looked after in the past, so yeah, it's a good money raiser for the... And it's very helpful in emergency situations when the ambulance or something's coming along the street looking for number 24, if it's painted on the curb and it stands out, it makes it a lot easier for the emergency services to find those house numbers.
And just on that, as far as the raising of money, I mean, at $10 a house, if you did 200 houses, it's pretty easy, a lot of money as opposed to selling tickets in a wood raffle. So I think it's something we could probably get one of our staff onto to raise that as an opportunity for someone to do it.
And also, Councillor Wales.
I'm just going to mention, Mr Mayor, that our Ageing Well session in Mulwala, when we had our consultation meeting in Mulwala, Councillor Thomas and I go, no doubt she would have brought up, but Lucilla runs her little Ageing Well class at Mulwala, and it's always well attended, and she does a great job, so it's very important as we get old.
Yeah, definitely. And also, somehow it'd be great to follow up the defibrillators as far as where they are they charged, are they ready to go? I don't know if there's some way of putting something into place to do that, but it'd be an embarrassing situation if you ever needed it and wasn't working. Okay, so I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against. Carried. 4.3, Local Emergency Management Committee. Recommendation there that Council endorses the General Manager's delegation to the Director's Engineering Services as the LEMO. Point number 2, that Council endorse Steve Carmichael, Director of Engineering Services, as the Chair. And point number 3, that Council adopt the minutes of Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 7th of June 2019. And that is moved by Councillor Longley and seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Any questions or comments? If
I'll
not,
just make a quick comment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this committee's fallen into, well, they hadn't met for 2 years. The last minutes go back to 2017, so it's an area where we are required by legislation to have these meetings. They're only 3 a year. So hopefully we've now got it resurrected and moved forward from there. So this will be the first set of minutes we've had in the 2-year period, unfortunately, but everybody I think is on side, and we had a reasonably good roll-up, which is good, so we'll go forward. The next meeting's in October.
thank you, Steve. Councillor Longley and Councillor Longmire first. I'm
Um,
sorry.
Mr.
Okay.
Carmichael, I noticed in some communities that they've had fences put around rec reserves and so forth for fire protection and so forth. I believe the one at Howlong's nominated as a emergency reserve, and there's a sign about that big at the front telling people that's in the case of emergency fire, that's where you go to. I'm just wondering whether we can identify that. Do we, in some council areas, they actually have to provide buildings and ventilated buildings and so forth for aged people? Is there opportunities going forward for council to provide grants to opportunities like that?
We have an emergency management plan.
Yes.
And in the back of that plan there's a whole list of facilities that may be available in villages and towns. So if there is an emergency, it could be flood, could be fire, could be a motor vehicle crash or something like that, where there's a bus or something where you've got numerous people to look after. So that's all listed in our emergency plan. We're just upgrading that at the moment. It has been brought together from the former Urana and Coralwood councils, brought into it, but it just needs a bit of fine tuning, so all that sort of stuff. As far as the signage, maybe we need to upgrade that a bit, make it a bit more visible as well. But there will be designated areas in each village and in each town where people go in an emergency. Normally it's into a hall or a club or something for short term, and then it goes on. I know in the back it actually lists, I think it goes through how much accommodation you got. In a hall you're only allowed so much room for 2 nights, and after that you get to spread out a little bit further after 3 nights. So there's all that sort of stuff listed there for each of our villages and towns.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Longmire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very important committee. I was able to chair at the previous one. It's disappointing to think that the minutes have been unavailable for 2 years, but it could be to do with the administration and the amalgamation. But the one that came to mind that we were involved in heavily was the tornado that went through Mulwala, and that became pretty intense. And it could have been, it was bad, but it could have been in personality getting killed at that opportunity. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that because there was a procedure opportunity for LEMO to be always working and active, and to his credit, Bob Parkwood did a lot of work in that, it was really a valuable tool or committee when it became to the point where the Premier and Cabinet Department became involved with a translocation of all the asbestos stuff down at the caravan park out this side. And so straight away there were agencies when it happened that evening, during the night, it was up and about, and I think it's such a valuable committee. I've seen it personally, that it's so important that it be kept up to date and all the agencies be, really moving and active in the opportunity, because it's so important. And the other understanding is in all the Shire areas, not a lot of people understand where the emergency evacuation areas are, and so that needs to be brought up to date, and it's our duty to do that, because there'll be something else that'll happen, whether it be a tornado or massive bushfire or whatever, flood or whatever. And I think it's such an important committee.
Thank you. Any further comments, councillors? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we'll move on to item number 13, reports from delegates. Any councillors have any verbal report? Councillor Longley, would you like to start?
Yeah, I've attended a number of meetings throughout the Shire Council area recently, and noted that there was some disquiet from our northern communities that they felt that they lacked representation. They're quite concerned. There was issues that ran about the water standpipe and the fire and the railway line in their town. They want to burn it off. I think Miss Appleyard's got that under control. She was there. Well, I assume she's very efficient and everything else. And Urana, of course, there was the dogfight about the bypass. I represented the mayor at the Combined Lions Club changeover dinner in Howlong the other night, and I didn't mention tumbleweed spur, but I did mention all about volunteers and how the community relies on volunteers, and also attended the volunteer recognition day in Howland, 164 people out of the 460 invited. I would like council to congratulate or write a letter to Pam Danaher, congratulating her on her organisation, because that was commented by a number of people over there, how well it was done. It was an excellent day, but again, most of them are all my age, and they don't see many young people out volunteering anymore, so a bit disappointed.
Thank you, Councillor Longley, and also thank you for the attendances you've had on my behalf too. It certainly lightened the load a bit when there's been a hell of a lot on. So
sorry, I couldn't cover the haircut.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Was there a hand up over this side of the room? Councillor.
Yeah.
Whitchurch?
Sorry. Just following on from last meeting where I mentioned the co-contribution from the Festival of Dance. They've now replaced the PA system in the Memorial Hall in Corriway with a co-contribution, I believe it was half, Mr Butler, Joe, so they've paid half of the system, which I think was in excess of $15,000, so it's a great effort from their raised funds, largely through the Festival of Dance, and they now run a mid-year thing. But an interesting thing that cropped up on the bottom of the speaker in the Memorial Hall, the PA system was donated by the Apex Club of Corriway in 1966. So, it served its time, but it just goes to show the Apex Club in Corriway was very strong back then, probably struggling for numbers now, but they're still running and doing stuff for the town. And now the other quick one was just like to congratulate the RSL sub-branch in Corriway for 100 years. They had their dinner on Saturday night, which I attended again on behalf of Council for the Mayor, Mr Burke, and our local members were both there, Susan Lee and Justin Clancy, as well as the Vice President of RSL New South Wales and the Lady President of the Women's Auxiliary. So had 130 plus people at the dinner and spoke about the history, and it was a really good night. And also there was a new plaque laid at the monument. We have 2 living members of a group, British Commonwealth Federation. There's I think 13 people left in Australia. Ken King from Cora and Vern Maddy are both members of that group, so Ken King was quite chuffed to have a plaque to recognise them. So all in all, very good.
Thank you to the Deputy Mayor too, also for helping me with another. Thank you, Councillor Wales.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I attend the Howland Volunteers with Councillor Longley, and also the budget meeting and a few budget meetings in the year-round bypass. Mr Mayor, I add a bit more to your mayoral minute in relation to delegates to Conference of Canberra.
Absolutely.
We had a Mulwala conversation the other day, I was with Councillor Thomas, and she said, I'll just write you a little spiel what to say at the conference. I'm not going to take the glory, I'll just quote here what she said. She started with the word fabulous, so what a fabulous opportunity, and I must say that I thank you very much for the privilege of going this year to the conference. Very good, with good company with yourself and Councillor Thomas, and we had a good time. What a fabulous opportunity to attend the NGA for the ALG in Canberra. Along with my fellow councillors, Mayor Pat Burke and Councillor Wales, the key take-home elements were smart cities are on their way for both urban and rural, remote and regional centres areas. Be prepared for that natural disaster. A chap from New Zealand gave a very interesting PowerPoint, and very sad what happened over there. LGA's role in providing affordable housing, the importance of community engagement and its effective delivery, waste to energy and alternative recycling habits of future generations, monitoring weather, recognition of LG in the Australian Constitution, and all politics is local, a quote from the MP, Mr Michael McCormick. Input was made on those key motions, but at the conference, I think about 132 motions. We had a couple of inputs in schools and mobile street schools. And I had some sessions, and I went to a great action alcohol session. A chap from Iceland came out there and he gave a presentation in relation to grass and in relation to young kids. And finally, the last speaker was Kurt Burnley, who's a Paralympic champion, won a few gold medals in Beijing, and he had a video of the Beijing Olympics where he started from the line and the end of it. That was very inspirational. And he also did the Kokoda Trail, crawled the Kokoda Trail. And I'll tell you, the audience was just like, they just sat in awe, and unbelievable. And he received a standing ovation when he finished, so it was good. But once again, thank you very much. I've had a great time, and with yourself and Ron.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wales. Excellent. Any further delegates reports, Councillor?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I just to touch base on the for our pool advisory committee that Councillor Law Councillor Longley are also on. Councillors were circulated with concept drawings last week, and I believe through the Mayor, the General Manager, where are we at with those as far as sending stuff out to tender? And we've actually put the pool committee meeting off a week until 2 weeks' time before the council meeting, and our concept architect's going to come down to that final one before we put it out to tender, so we just get a little bit of light on that for the public.
Yeah, I'll probably hand that to Steve, but I understand it was waiting on that 8th of July, is it, that meeting?
Yeah, we'd probably go out, we might even go to tender prior to that. We're just pulling the tender documents together at the moment for the VNC. So that, I had it, I'll be away for a couple of weeks after next week, so I want to get, if we can, we want to get it on the, get it out prior to that, and then Stephen Johansson will be at the briefing, not at the actual council meeting, he'll be at the briefing, hopefully on the, I think it's the 8th
of July.
8th of July, just to give you an update on that. So at this stage we don't want any changes, the concept will be as it is, go out, get a VNC, and that when we can actually fine tune bits and pieces and move things around a little bit and make this a bit bigger and do that, through that stage. So if we get it out prior to that, we should have it closing in the July, early August. Hopefully by the September meeting we can hopefully have a tender let, and by then we'll know what the finances are and what our timelines are. Which could be an interesting time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. In relation to our comms as far as sending stuff out, concepts and those sort of things, I know that the news from the Free Press was asking today whether there was any cool stuff going to happen, or are we looking at getting, is that concept drawing going to be released prior to tender, or are we going to wait till?
I don't see why it probably can't be released unless Adrian's got any...
No, I think the committee's pretty comfortable with it, as long as the council is more so, that there's no surprises then when it goes out, as long as we've all looked at that walk-through video and...
Yeah, I think they walk through video.
It's only a concept at this stage, so there'll be, like I said, you still have the chance to fine-tune bits and pieces, but...
I think that walkthrough that we were sent out was terrific, and I think that if that was to hit the multimedia pages and the outlets, it would certainly, with notation that it's a concept, that it's obviously up to design, but I think we're going to keep the ball moving as far as that pool's happening.
Would there be an opportunity to do the walkthrough on the screen at the workshop, or have we got technology that might do that?
Yeah, we can bring it up.
Okay.
Harvey.
Excellent.
Do you want to actually move
Bring
that?
the
Do you
cows
get to we actually release that pool?
Yeah.
Councillor Whitechurch, would you like to move that we release that concept?
Yeah, if we could, I guess we could release the concept drawings for public perusal prior to the tender.
I think,
Councillor...
Public information or amendment?
Yeah, public information.
Longley, would you second that? So we'll move her and second that. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Kennedy?
I've got no questions on it.
No? All in favour? Against, carried. Okay, well...
Mr Mayor, just one other committee that I'm on, I forgot to mention, it's very important. I'm on the Waste Committee, and had a couple of meetings. The engineers have appointed a consultant to evaluate the history, current situation with our waste and looking forward. So, when you get involved in that, you start to understand the difficulties and what's involved, and it's a fairly complicated process, and we are being ably led by our engineers.
That's very good. In his capable hands.
I haven't had a lot to do with it.
He's got some pretty smart blokes working for him.
Excellent.
We'll also be relying very heavily on my next door neighbour director as well in that, because there are some
planning issues.
There's a lot of environmental issues and other stuff that come into that, and especially it's not like it was in the old days. Things have changed.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 14, correspondence requiring council action or for information, more for information in this case, I think. We'll just run down, I'll move them as a block. We're at 14.1, Cora of RSL Sub-Branch, a thank you letter for attendance on participation on Anzac Day. Mulwala Progress Association, a thank you letter for the install of new blinds at the Mulwala office. Lonsdale Reserve Committee minutes, they're in the agenda, and Country Mayor's minutes as well are in the agenda. Would someone like to move that That it be,
So moved.
correspondence be tabled. Thank you, councillor Longmire, seconded by councillor Law. Any questions or comments in relation to any of those items? If not, I'll put it. All in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Item number 15, confidential matters. So it's recommended that we move into closed session. Would someone like to move that? Moved by councillor Law, seconded by councillor Whitechurch. All in favour? Aye. Against, carried. So, yeah, just defer for that.
That's what I think.
Mr Mayor, I wasn't able to open that confidential document on my computer.
Yeah. We'll have it up on once our cameras are off.
Oh,